For question number 7 on the review, we're being asked to divide the square root of x by the square root of x minus 1. What causes us the problem here in this particular example is that we have the square root of x in the denominator, and we'd like to not have any radicals in the denominator at all. Normally, we just multiply by what's inside the square root. However, because we have this minus 1 down here, that causes us some extra trouble. So what we want to multiply instead, that's going to allow us to get rid of, everything, is what we call the conjugate. So the conjugate is exactly the same thing as what's on the bottom, but instead of a minus, we're going to have a plus in there. So this is going to give us the square root of x plus 1, and we're going to need to multiply that by itself on both the top and the bottom of this expression so we don't change what is in the problem. Now, when we do this, let's go ahead and multiply that out here so you can, I'll write this in so you can see what we're up to. We're going to do the square root of x times the square root of x plus 1 is going to show up on top. On the bottom, we're going to have the square root of x minus 1 times the square root of x plus 1, and we'll need to use FOIL down below. On the top, when we go through and distribute, that's going to give us the square root of x squared plus 1 times the square root of x. The square root of x squared, of course, is just x, and I end up with x plus the square root of x in the numerator. On the bottom, I have to multiply this whole group by a group, so I'm going to have to use FOIL there. When I start at the beginning, I'm going to have the square root of x times the square root of x, which is the square root of x squared. Then for the outsides, I'm going to have plus 1 times the square root of x. For the insides, I'm going to have minus 1 times the square root of x. And then minus 1 times positive 1 is going to give me a minus 1 overall. Now, when I go to simplify the denominator, the square root of x squared is just plain old x, which is great because now there's no square root in that part. In the middle, because of using the conjugate, I end up with a plus square root of x and a minus square root of x, which is gone. So that whole radical expression ended up dropping out. But I still have a minus 1 on the bottom. When we're done, and at this point, this is going to be our final answer. The denominator has no square roots in it anymore. The top has just been simplified and accounted for as much as we can, and we cannot do any canceling at this point because there's a plus in the numerator and a minus in the denominator, so that's all that we can do.